Canada's legal system is falling apart under the weight of its own stupid and racist refugee pleasing policies. What do I mean? Well, here are some of the most recent highlights in case you haven't heard. So, one of Canada's celebrated Syrian refugees who was caught pleasuring himself and massaging a kid consensually at a Windsor pool area has been handed a sentence of 2 years probation. Yep, that's all. And want to know why? Well, his lawyer argued it was simply a cultural issue. Really? You're allowed to jerk yourself off in front of kids in Syria? Yeah, right. The punishment there is being lashed. So, how stupid is our legal system? You hear a lot about racism and systemic racism. Well, this is what it actually looks like. This story exemplifies the soft bigotry of low expectations in our legal system. Oh, a refugee committed a sex crime? Oh, well, it must be the system's fault. He couldn't just be a pervert, right? I'll read the story and throw in some of my thoughts along the way. Quote, a Windsor man. Thanks, mainstream media. Right off the bat, it should say a recent immigrant living in Windsor. Anyway, a Windsor man has been sentenced in connection with an indecent act at the downtown aquatic center. Hassan al-Harari, I don't know if that's right, pleaded guilty last month to the May 2016 incident. The defense was asking for a conditional discharge for the 38-year-old, but Justice Lloyd Dean didn't believe that would be in the public's best interest. He gave al-Harari a suspended sentence and 24 months of probation. Al-Harari pleaded guilty to assault and indecent act after he was caught pleasuring himself in the shower area at the Windsor International Aquatic and Training Center in May 2016. He was also seen giving a young person a consensual back massage. The Syrian refugee arrived in Canada just 3 months prior to this incident. Quote, the court heard he suffers from PTSD. He no longer has communication with his family in Syria, and he lost 2 of his brothers in the conflict there. Oh, really? Playing the PTSD card in a sex-related incident at a pool. PTSD is why this guy pulled a Louis C.K. in some public showers? Okay then. I know people with PTSD, they've never told me about that particular symptom. Quote, al-Harari has permanent resident status in Canada. He has no prior criminal record. Record where? That's a pretty loaded term. And his lawyer says he's extremely remorseful. Yeah, those perverts can be extremely remorseful when they want to stay out of prison. His lawyer, Laura Joy, argued that what happened in the shower area was not sexual in nature, saying it was more of a cultural issue. But the Crown argued otherwise, suggesting there was inappropriate touching. The article goes on, but you get the gist. The pervert is the victim somehow. The cultural reference is the most insulting. What is the suggestion there? Our laws are ignorant? We don't understand him? Let's give him a pass. That is so ridiculous. Muslims seem to be playing the I didn't know I could do that here card a lot lately. For example, a Muslim immigrant from the Middle East was recently found not guilty for raping his wife. His defense? He was under the impression that he could have sex with her whenever he wanted, even when it was non-consensual. The judge said he could not convict the husband because of the lack of criminal intent, or mens rea. For the record, Canadian sexual assault law is clear and was amended to include sexual assault against a spouse in 1983. Just wondering, would the decision have been the same had it been a white immigrant from Russia? The case once again proves that multiculturalism without assimilation has serious implications for society and women's rights in particular. Under the guise of tolerance, criminal acts are waived, yet the native culture must adhere to the rule of law, otherwise there will be consequences. And then there was this guy. A member of Trudeau's Syrian refugee program, Mohamed Rafia, beat his wife with a hockey stick for half an hour. He told the court he didn't know it was illegal to do this in Canada. Yep, more ignorance pleading. He then blamed the system by stating that no one explained our laws to him. Quote, he was not aware of the law and he was coming from a background where the laws are completely different, end quote, said the interpreter. Despite living in Canada for a year and a half, Rafia still doesn't speak a lick of English, only Arabic. The wife was taken to the hospital for her injuries and admitted that her husband pulled her hair, hit her in the face, and threatened her life. Rafia was charged and pleaded guilty to assault causing bodily harm and uttering threats. He was sentenced to 8 days in jail and 1 year of probation. This is a slap on the wrist by the Canadian court. The Canadian Criminal Court states that assault with a weapon or causing bodily harm, everyone who, in committing an assault, causes bodily harm to the complainant is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years or an offense punishable on summary conviction and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 18 months. And here is another great example. Trudeau's plan to integrate ISIS terrorists, yes, using our tax dollars, and no, I'm not kidding. What other group of international bloodthirsty terrorists, the same barbarians that behead people, rape women, and hold them as sex slaves, would get this sort of star treatment from the Canadian government? So far, only 2 returnees have been prosecuted under Canada's Anti-Terrorism Act, and let's get real. It's not exactly easy to gather evidence in war zones for successful criminal prosecutions. Why is the Canadian government even trying to rehab these psychos when other Western governments want them killed so they won't be able to return to their home countries? By the way, how do they plan on rehabbing former ISIS soldiers? Oh yeah, podcasts and poetry. Of course, that plan has worked never and nowhere. There have been numerous examples of a 2-tier law system spiking up in the United Kingdom, the modern-day hub of mass migration and multiculturalism. Remember, they even have Sharia courts in England. The severe societal damage that can arise from this structure is exemplified by the Rotterdam child sexual exploitation scandal. If you don't know, it is considered the biggest child protection scandal in UK history. From the late 1980s until the 2010s, organized child sexual abuse continued almost unchallenged by the legal authorities. An estimated 1,400 children, most of them white girls aged 11 to 15, had been sexually abused in Rotterdam by predominantly British Pakistani Muslim men. 2 inquiries found the main reason the crimes went unreported was authorities feared that the perpetrator's ethnicity would trigger allegations of racism and damage community relations. So, what are your thoughts on this new 2-tiered law system that we have going on in Canada? Do you think it's happening? And what do you think the consequences of it are? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, I encourage you to do your own research and draw your own conclusions. Have a great day.